Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Bay Area Musicians Podcast. I am your host, Matt Grenner, and we are having an amazing conversation with Mike Annuzzi. He joined us last week on the show, and we just absolutely had to have a part two. So please enjoy part two of our wonderful conversation with Mike Annuzzi. Speaking of which, there were a couple of notable names that you have performed with. Billy Currington was one of them. I also have Lucas Nelson.
Yeah.
You played with him.
Yep.
Jackie Green of the Black Crowes.
Yep.
And also, I'm not exactly sure where he's from, but I think he's also an independent artist, Tyrone Wells.
Yeah.
You played with him before?
Yeah, Tyrone actually is like super great guy. I've got to play many shows with him, and actually the first pro show that I ever had was opening for Tyrone.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
And regarding to your songwriting, and I don't remember if this was I'm not sure if this was actually a part of a competition, but it's something that you are recognized for. Is that you also have a song called Paradise that back in 2010 won the West Coast Songwriters Song of the Year. When that happened, how did that feel for you, getting that recognition?
You know, like I said, there's a lot of competition in the Bay Area. There's a lot of great talent. And I walked into the room and had to perform this song in front of judges, you know.
Wow.
There's like music industry people that are like super well known. Like I remember the panel that was there.
Pretty much American Idol without the TV.
Totally. And, you know, when I got to play in front of them first, I was at that point, I was playing at like a ton of open mics, and I wasn't playing out super professionally. I maybe had one or two gigs here and there. But that night, I walked out on the stage and I got to perform in front of people I truly respected and wanted to impress. You know, I wanted to impress the entire audience, but also I realized like these judges, you know, they really understand what it is that's getting played. And, you know, that was really special for me to get that recognition early on in my career. That was the first song I ever had on the radio multiple times, followed by Let Me Show You Tonight.
and a few others.
Yeah, and yeah.
That's really cool. So I would like to dive into, also it doesn't have to be very forensic, but I would like to recap on how we initially met and how we became a team. I could very well be wrong about this, but I think I remember I think this was about maybe 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. And I was going about my business, and then all of a sudden I get this random Facebook message in the Messenger app from this guy, Mike Annuzzi. Who the hell's this guy? I never knew he existed. And he mentions my name, and it's like, well, your name came up in several referrals for being a good country drummer. Would you like to at least come by for a jam or maybe even a rehearsal? And any opportunity that comes my way to play drums, doesn't matter if it's the house of worship, which I'm very prevalent in a couple of churches, or any new projects, or even as a hired gun sub musician, as an emergency fill-in, of course, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
And so immediately said yes. And let's see, I can't remember where exactly we met, but I remember saying the reference tracks that you had sent of a couple of your songs. This was before. The only song that was on the top 100 at the time was your song "New Boots On."
Okay.
That was actually the first song. You sent me the YouTube link for it, and I wrote the song out,
Awesome.
and I can't remember where we initially met to actually do this, but we had a jam session, and I just remember, I'm calling you back, dude.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was your perspective? Like, what led up to actually sending that Facebook message, and then even after that first get together, what were your thoughts, and how did you feel about going forward with me as your drummer at the time?
You know, that's a really cool memory, actually, Matt. It's pretty special. Like, I've fortunately I've played with some amazing musicians in the Bay Area.
Yeah, and there's so many unrecognized great musicians out here who I really believe are Nashville quality.
Oh yeah, totally.
And a lot of them go unnoticed. So I'm very sorry that we can't make mention of every single one of you here in this episode, but we really hope to over the course of the entire show here, as long as it can stretch. But yeah, both of us have played with incredible musicians before, and
I just remember like looking up your name on the internet after, I don't remember who I was talking to, but I heard your name from several people. Call Matt Gretter. I was like, all right, well, I don't know Matt Gretter, and I looked you up on YouTube. I remember looking at your videos, and I watched like hours of whatever content was there. And I was like, dude, this guy knows like every hit of like every Jason Aldean song. And it's like, yeah, that was incredible. I know how much you love Jason Aldean too, and the music and Rich Redmond. And like, it's like, actually to hear you play it on the YouTube channel, it was like one thing. But every time I get to see you live, I remember I saw you at Club Fox in Redwood City playing your Cajon kit.
Yeah, I remember that.
And just your energy playing, like I just feel lucky I get to share those moments on stage with you.
Yeah, and I always try to treat a little bit of each show that I play as if it's my last one.
That's great.
And even though realistically it may not be the last one, because I'm not trying to be egotistical, but I'm also not trying to be blind. I know what I've built as far as a reputation as a drummer over the years, but I don't let that get in the way of me realizing that, hey, this opportunity that that God has given you to be able to play the drums, it could be taken away from you at any moment, and you better treat each moment as if it could be your last one. Yeah. So that's why I never try to take anything for granted. And anytime that like yourself or any artist is expressing like thanks and appreciation, or even hooks me up again, like, hey, we need you, can you come down? I'm like, yes, I'm going to do this.
Nice.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important. I think that's why we get along so well musically. Like in past life, I used to help. I wasn't a manager. I never called myself a manager, but I helped a lot of bands in growing. And one of the things that I first said to them was that if you're going to work with me, I need you to do something. And it was pretend every show is your last.
Yeah.
I want you to go on stage, just like you said, and give it what you can. You know, because we're lucky. We're lucky we get to do this. I know a lot of people in the Bay Area, especially, this is why it's so much more competitive in the Bay Area, is because, I'm paying for everything, like off of a music career. And, the price tag in Nashville is actually much less. People in Nashville make less doing the job that I get to do here in the Bay Area. But also, I'm competing with a price tag of rent and bills and everything that's much higher than others around the U.S.
The Bay Area itself is rated within the top 10 most expensive places in the entire country. So,
and that actually, in my head, I use that as a motivation to keep doing better.
Absolutely, yeah, and I would think very quickly, as a little side note for you, as a solo artist, you are a full-time musician. This is how you support yourself.
Right.
As the main artist, like you do a lot of shows with Aloft Hotel, and there's a local joint in San Carlos, Drake's, that you do like maybe once every other week, maybe once a week on Sundays, if I'm not mistaken. Just doing it as the solo guy, you are able to support yourself better, even in this part of the country, the Bay Area, more than a side guy like myself would, because we're not the forefront. We are helping you out. So we only get a percentage. We're not able to keep 100%.
Right. So it's tough. It's tough because I'm actually trying to dial back with the gigs too, because they should be more intentional. Like in general, the price tag is very, very important, you know, as a business person, I guess I should say, because, you know, I've been running this business for 20 years and, like it's all about supply and demand, really. Like, 2 years ago, I played, about 300 shows.
That is insane.
In that 1 year. Last year, I actually dialed it back a little bit, but I was still above 250. But I also am helping some venues and artists and stuff get gigs. So I also did like 50 to 60 shows for other people. And so it's still around that range, but I'm trying to dial back and continue to get on the stage with the band and make it sound great. And, you know, the weekly things, I am so grateful that I get to participate in these events that are bringing me back and helping me pay my salaries and whatever it is, you know, like, sometimes I book more gigs when I have a band show because I'm like, I need to make that finance to get everybody the same kind of pay. You know, it's like, it's hard. And at the same time, it's like, you know, this is the career. So either you do it or you don't. And, you know, for me, I can't compete with my neighbors that live next door to me that, you know, they work for Google or something and they're making $300,000 a year. Well, I'm not there yet. And financially, I understand that and I'm okay with it. But at the same time, my expenses as an artist are very high.
Right.
You know, I could spend 15 grand on equipment in 1 year, and that's just music gear or something. It's like ridiculous on the cost of things, but in order to execute, you got to do it. So you really have to make this a whole, if you're doing it full time, you know, you have to put your all into it.
Absolutely.
Everything has to be organized. I will say the number one thing that I would recommend, calendar. That's the most important thing. I have a daily calendar that typically I know exactly what job I need to execute. I don't like to give myself a timeline, but I like to execute. And if it takes 2 hours, cool, whatever. If it takes half an hour, great. As long as it's done, then I don't have to think about it ever again, as long as it's done.
Right.
You know, and that's what it really takes when you're, you know, doing your career as a full-time musician, getting the word out there as much as you can. You know, I was, like I said early on, I was playing a lot of open mics, free stuff. I was meeting every single person I could.
Yeah. It
was super important to get to know, build a fan base, build a community that would follow you and help support you and understand what you're going through. And then at some point, you're starting to get more paid gigs, you know, and those paid gigs turn into a more regular gig. The more regular gig, well, that means your calendar is filled up a lot more, and you have to start increasing your price. If you're going to call me for $100 on a Monday, well, that guy's calling me for $1,000 on a Monday. Now where are we going to all meet?
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
It's not just that, it's that it has to work out, you know, financially. It has to work out with your time, you know, and your efforts, because, you know, an artist like myself, I'm thinking about marketing, I'm thinking about songwriting, and there's a lot on your plate. In one day, you could wear 20 different hats. Yeah. And it's important to, you know, keep those all in line, detailed, and like I said, execute.
Yeah, exactly. I'm along those same lines too. Even though I've got I do have a day job as a truck driver. I am proud of it, but my sole purpose on this earth is to play drums and to play music. I firmly believe that. And even though as a side guy, particularly, I've got a lot more financial hardship than you necessarily. I know it's a struggle for you too. I'm not discounting that, but it's a little bit more of a struggle for someone like myself, who's a hired gun who has to juggle multiple artists to try to make the same amount and take home as you do.
Right.
But either way, regardless of everybody's point of views about the finances and stuff, the root of it all is that we are musicians first and foremost. It's something that we all love to do.
Yeah.
We do want to have a value on our talent. We don't want to be doing this for free.
Right.
Sometimes it may be necessary, but we want to try to put a value on it. We want to try to find that balance of, okay, I want a value on this, but not price myself out.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to do at times. But
and there's no problem with that, and there's no problem doing stuff for free either.
No.
And I have said this before in different interviews that I didn't start music. I didn't start like this career in music for money. I started it because I loved it.
Right.
And I truly am like trying to keep that back to the innocence, like all of it, the songwriting, the performance, the business aspect. It should just be like super innocent about everything, because once you get caught up in the money, that is one thing. But at the same time, if you have 2 gigs on a Tuesday night, you got to pick one. You can't be in 2 places at once. So
depending on the time frame.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. Because often we do 2 gigs.
There were times where we were doing a NASCAR event up at Sonoma. I was not able to do the last one, but we did 3 in a day.
3 in one day. That was brutal. But that's what happens sometimes, like, I mean, you have to do what you have to do. And anyone that's like young in the music scene and trying to learn stuff, like, realize that maybe it's not about the money. Like, it could take you a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month to prepare just for one show. And that show could be an hour or 2 long, and it's done. And now you never get that job again. Like, I mean, and you might get $100 or something. Like, I've done so many hired gun gigs, like playing bass or cajon or guitar for people that I practiced for weeks. And it's like, I made $50 or $100 doing that gig, and there was never any follow-up gig. And, that makes sense, because some artists, they just end, or they're not doing shows, or whatever the case may be. You never know if that gig will be there in the future, or if that artist comes back into town or something and you're the hired gun, you might have to learn a completely different set. And it's like, is it really worth it? Well, I don't know. That's a question you have to answer for yourself on a per gig basis.
Yeah. This is an industry, particularly at the level that both of us are at, particularly where it's all about the moment. Whereas if you're on a level like of Jason Aldean, who's the band itself is they're on retainer, and they've got pretty much guaranteed stuff, more or less, assuming that Jason himself wants to continue doing shows and tours and things like that. More or less, I would think with the exception of that one variable, if Jason wants to continue, there's a lot more guarantees. Whereas on our level here in the Bay Area, we have to prepare for the moment, because that one moment could literally make or break.
Totally.
And we have to adapt on the fly at times, completely shift a different set.
Yeah.
Or, okay, this is plan A for this particular show. It's due in a month. And then the week before, now we had to change the roster. Now the whole vibe of the show has changed.
Totally.
And so if you want to, of course, we want to keep the show going as much as we possibly can, because that's what we do. The show must go on.
Right.
Sometimes we want it to be on the rare side. Sometimes we do. It's like, hey, we thought of everything we could. We can't do this no more, or we're going to find a way no matter what it takes.
Yeah.
It's all about preparing for and adapting to the moment itself, which can make or break.
Totally. Just to touch on like I thought it was really interesting. You brought up the retainer of like the artists like that level that bring on bandmates, and basically like, something that's really important to understand with that is if you're signing a contract that you're a performer in a band of like somebody that's doing that, is you basically commit whatever time frame it is 100%. Doesn't matter what's going on in your life.
Right.
You're committed 100%. Are we going to, Alaska? Are we going to Canada? Are we going to Australia, it doesn't matter. Are we doing 3 gigs in one day? Are we doing 1 gig on one day? Do we get any day off? It doesn't matter. You're committed for that time frame. And like those tours are a lot of fun. They're a lot of excitement and stuff. It's a lot of pressure, you know, and it's something to be very proud of if you are getting to fill that role. That's a great thing, you know. And, you know, sometimes the price tag, it fits. But again, it's all about what you see your path.
Yeah.
And your commitments, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're kind of running out a little bit here, but one thing that just two things I want to just tap on really quick is that you have played a lot of venues here in the Bay Area, and particularly, in my personal opinion, one of the most nostalgic venues that I have heard of you play was the Mountain Winery in Saratoga. For those of you who don't know, the Mountain Winery is on top of the Saratoga Hills on the southern part of the San Francisco Peninsula. It has the glorious view of Silicon Valley, San Jose, the entire bay you can see from the top of up there. It's on its own vineyard, wine tasting, summer concert series. It is absolutely amazing. What did it feel like to play that venue?
Man, that venue in particular, that was probably the first time I played there. It was like probably my biggest show to date at that point. And I just remember walking out on the stage going like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, nobody knows who I am here. And I walked out, and like the moment I walked out, one of my friends, Eric, I hope he's listening right now, he yelled, Mike. And I heard him, and like it was just like the coolest thing ever. I mean, I just remember seeing my family was in the front row that day, and like I made a lot of friends, and you know, that's something really cool. I've been fortunate to meet a lot of people at these shows. You know, I got to play at Bottle Rock, and I got to play at a lot of really big venues around California, and it's like, you know, you take these moments and you say, okay, I worked really hard to get to that point, and now how do I replicate it? And that's truly like, I want to make sure that continues. That's something I'm really working towards.
Yeah, and another memorable, at least 2 shows we did 2 years in a row that I remember vividly because it is by far the biggest venue that I've ever played. And it's also a very good fundraiser for kidney disease called Silicon Valley Pig Jig, which is hosted at the minor league baseball team for the San Francisco Giants, the San Jose Giants Excite Stadium. And first time I've ever played a stadium, and that's something that I hold near and dear to my heart. And also just the fact that all of the money raised there is going to a really good cause for preventing kidney disease.
Yeah.
When was your first time doing that show? If I was even
that was with you.
It was
so
with me.
What was it? 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago was the first time.
That was so cool. I mean, those events that are outdoors like that, and they're at a big stadium like that, it's like there's some feeling that when you walk onto that stage, you're like, all right, this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And for those of you who are interested, I have actually documented this for my YouTube channel 3 years in a row now. The first time I did it before Mike was with Sophia Clare, who's another amazing upcoming artist. She's actually going on tour in Washington State for February for a couple of dates up there. But she had me on for that first show. Then the next 2 years were with you. So if you want to check out those videos, go to my YouTube channel, Matt Gretter. You will not be disappointed. And so, yeah, to be able to play on that big stage, especially with you, was absolutely amazing because I get to. That was the one show that I really think that I really get to be
open
and myself.
Totally.
Because
when the stage is big,
you get to unleash.
You unleash.
It is absolutely the best. So that was super, super cool. And I really appreciate you letting me be a part of not just those, those 2 shows, but everything that you need a band for.
Yeah.
everything. I am just beyond appreciative of.
Likewise. We've played a lot of shows, some are big crowds and some are small crowds, and that's totally the name of the game. I think I played a show once with Steve Mokler, and I don't know if you're familiar with him, but songwriter out of Nashville, and I think I had 25 of my friends in the audience in San Francisco. Now he's a household name out of Nashville, a ton of number one hits. Billy Currington, I played in front of about 8,000 people with that show, and it's like, oh, Edwin McCain was another one. Like, there was about 35 of my friends at a show in San Francisco. I got to open for Edwin McCain. The night before, he sold out a 15,000 person arena.
Oh my God.
Like, when you really think about it, it doesn't matter how many people are in the audience. It matters that you're showing up. It matters that you're doing your best. And you have to be grateful of everybody that's involved, from the people walking into the door or through, with tickets, they came to see you, or the staff that helped set you up, all of it. It's like there's a whole world that's going on. You're lucky to be a part of it, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many people are there. It doesn't matter how many people, as long as you're showing up and executing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we really thank you so much for coming on, Mike. We really, really appreciate this. And anytime that we get together, microphones, cameras, or anything, it is an absolute honor. You are a brother to me, and
you too, man.
I really, really appreciate that. Would you mind if we closed out with another one of your songs?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, so this is another song that crapped. Oh my God! No, it did not.
Wow, it's that great, huh? All right.
Whoops, that cracked.
There you go. That's a good word.
The top 100 on iTunes. And this is one of the most rockin' songs that Mike ever does. And it's another favorite of mine to play. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And this is Just Getting Started.
Just getting started here tonight. The road might get a little rough. Might walk through a little mud. Strap on your boots, saddle up, enjoy the ride. Now we won't stop once we get going. Take a shot if you're locked and loaded. Yeah, that might just be enough to set you right. Whoa, you better get ready. We are just getting started here tonight. Whoa, you better get ready. We are just getting started here tonight. It ain't broke if I'm done fixing it. It ain't strong if I'm still drinking it. I'm on time if I'm walking in. Light it up, this night is about to begin. In 3, 2, 1. Whoa, you better get ready. We are just getting started here tonight. Whoa, you better get ready. We are just getting started here tonight. Yeah, I'm down. Are you down with me? 'Cause I'm down. Baby, it is clear to see you're down. Come on, let's do this thing. Whoa, you better get ready. We are just getting started here tonight. Whoa, you better get ready. We are just getting started here tonight.
Just Getting Started, everybody. That is such a cool song. Once again, thank you so much, Mike Annuzzi, for coming on the show. We very, very much appreciate it, and looking forward to many more shows with you in the future for me, and you are welcome back at any time you want.
Thank you so much, Matt.
All righty. Thank you so much for tuning in. We very much appreciate it, and we will see you next time on the Bay Area Musicians Podcast. Goodbye, everybody.